So this is rental car number 61, and today I'm back in an SUV. This is the 2017 Jeep Cherokee Latitude. Alright, so before we get started, I have a bit of a confession to make. Before I rented this car, I didn't actually know there was a difference between Cherokee and Grand Cherokee. But apparently there is, especially when it comes to price. So I want to be real clear, this is just the Cherokee, not the Grand Cherokee. Alright, so now that we got my own ignorance out of the way, let's look under the hood and see what this thing has to offer. So this is a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine. It's front wheel drive and kicks out about 184 horsepower. The 0 to 60 time is not impressive and not worth noting. However, you do get some pretty decent fuel economy. You get 21 miles per gallon in the city and 30 on the highway. And since we're talking about fuel economy, I just want to mention that the fuel cap release button is kind of in a weird spot. It's on the driver's side door, tucked away right here underneath the window controls. So I have pretty mixed feelings when I drive this vehicle. On the one hand, I think Jeeps are phenomenal. They handle, I think, probably the best of any SUV out there. But this one had a 4-cylinder engine and it was pretty lacking. The acceleration was pretty slow, and it just kind of ruined the experience for me. So if you're going to rent or buy something like this, I highly recommend that you upgrade to the V6. I've driven a bunch of Cherokees and Grand Cherokees at that level, and it makes a huge difference. Another thing I didn't love was the cabin noise. When I was on the highway, I had to crank the volume up pretty high to hear my podcasts. Let me give you just a quick taste so you know what I'm talking about.
When you're on your vacation and it's your last day before you go back home, consider washing your clothes. Because when you put...
Alright, but enough negatives. Let's jump inside the vehicle so I can talk about all the great features that the Latitude comes with. And there are a lot. I mean, Jeep's interiors are probably one of my favorites. But I want to start off with the seats, which are very comfortable, but don't come with electric controls. You have to adjust these manually. And here's the steering wheel. It's a good size, feels really good in the hands, and there's a number of buttons. On the left-hand side, you have the controls to interact with the digital display and the gauge cluster, along with your phone buttons, and then your cruise controls on the right. Above, you have a nice-sized gauge cluster with RPMs on the left and a speedometer on the right, and then a big digital display in the center. I do want to point out the fuel gauge to the right of that digital display in the center. It's in the form of a light-up bar system. I'm probably not describing that really well, but I don't know. Some people don't like this. I think it works fine and doesn't really bother me. And then over to the left of the steering wheel, you have your door locks, your window controls, your mirror controls, all the standard stuff. The dial right there adjusts the headlights, and then you get this small little storage space right here, which I'm not really sure how you can use it, but it's nice to see that it's there. So the key on this one is the same one you get with a Dodge Grand Caravan. It's made out of mostly plastic. 3 buttons, lock, unlock, panic buttons, that one in the red. It's not a standard key, but it is actually a key you have to insert into the ignition. So you do that by placing it right here to the right of the steering wheel and turning it just like you would a traditional key. Shifting your gaze over to the right on top of the dash, you do get a nice cutout right here that's a decent sized storage space. I'm sure you can get a cell phone, maybe a toll pass in there without any problems. And then shifting your gaze down is the center display. It's a nice size with some good colors, and you have dedicated buttons on the left and right hand side to help you navigate through all the menus. I like Jeep's system. It's easy to use, and I've always been able to connect my cell phone within probably 2 minutes at most, which is really nice. Then a little further down, you have the hazard button right here. Feels kind of lonely without anything else around it. And then further down, you have the climate controls. These are good quality controls with rubber on top that make it really easy to grip, and I had really no problems with them. Then a little further down, you get a storage cutout area with a power port, a USB and auxiliary port. And then next to that, you get the terrain controls where you can shift between snow mode, sport, sand, and mud. I played around with these a lot, but quite honestly, I do most of my driving on the highway and I just didn't notice a significant difference. And then behind that is the gear shift. I don't know what to say. Works great, shifts through those gears without any problem, and isn't very clunky. Actually, it's pretty smooth compared to some of the cars I've been driving lately. And then directly behind that, you get an electronic parking brake. Push it up to activate it, push it down to deactivate it. Behind there are two nice sized cup holders, which I am using right now. That's some iced tea, and then my nice water bottle. And then behind that you get a center armrest with a pretty deep cavity to store some things in. In here you're going to find a USB port and also a 12-volt DC power outlet. And then the only other major storage area in the front of the vehicle is the glove box. It's a little bit small, but it does kind of have a shelving system to it, so you can keep things pretty organized inside. And then finally for the front seat, if you shift your gaze up, you'll see that there's a sunglass holder made out of nice quality plastic with a felt lining. You also get lights to illuminate the cabin, and then just a standard rear view mirror. Alright, so let's shift and take a look at the back seat. Sorry, I left my bag and jacket back there. Hope you don't mind. Anyway, this is a good size. I'm 6 feet tall. The seats are pushed back to what I would consider a pretty realistic distance, and I still had plenty of leg room. Honestly, these are probably one of the more comfortable seats as far as back seats go for any of the SUVs that I've driven lately. There's not a lot of amenities back here for your passengers, but they do get two dedicated vents, which they can control. And then below that is my favorite. You actually get a 3-prong standard power outlet, so you can plug in all your electronics back here. This is a really, really convenient and great thing to have. All right, so there's no third row in the Cherokee, so let's shift our focus all the way back to the hatch and take a look at the cargo space. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but there's actually quite a bit of room back here. I like Jeeps for this reason. You get a ton of storage space. The back seats also fold down. You just have to pull up on this little tab right here, and the seat collapses fairly easily. And then you can take advantage of even more cargo space. And then finally, if you lift up the floor back here, there's some additional storage space down here in the form of like a modular containers section. Don't really know how to describe this. And I'm not really sure how I'd use it, but I like that it's there. Alright, so I think that's all the important things about the Jeep Cherokee Latitude. Gotta be honest, this is probably not my favorite Jeep that I've driven this year, but not bad for a $25,000 SUV, especially when you get all the great features that Jeep has to offer. So after driving this for about 2 days and putting about 146 miles on it, I'm going to give this one 4 stars. This is a great SUV. Just keep in mind that it's only about $25,000 and it's not a Grand Cherokee. If you keep that in mind, you really do get a lot for your money. You get some great screens, great storage space, and a nice driving vehicle. Although I might recommend that you upgrade to the V6 if you can. Alright, that's it. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I hope you'll join me next time when I rent the 2017 Hyundai Elantra. I'll see you then.